Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the drama thriller films from 2019, titled Perfect Nanny. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie begins by introducing Miriam, a mother of 2 young kids. She wakes up early in the morning, begins preparing food and completing daily chores around the house. Although at first glance, it appears as if she is enjoying parenthood, it is actually the exact opposite. Miriam loves her kids a lot, but she misses her bachelor life, and is getting frustrated with her everyday routine. She feels like she is missing something in her life. Miriam had her own ambitions and goals to achieve in life, but she has left everything to take care of her children. Miriam's husband, Paul, works a lot to provide for the family. One day, Miriam talks to her husband about wanting to go back to work and continue her career in the law field. Paul is against it, believing that the children are better off with her mother than a nanny. With her tears barely holding back, Miriam says she couldn't take it any longer, and would give her whole salary to a nanny so she wouldn't have to be at home all the time. Paul, being an understanding guy, finally supports her decision. Now, the only problem is that they have to find someone trustworthy to look after their kids, so Miriam places a job advertisement for a nanny. Following the advertisement, the first candidate comes to the couple for an interview. She is a migrant who doesn't understand French well. Of course, neither of the spouses is satisfied with this choice. The next candidate is a student of the psychology faculty, but she presents herself in an odd manner in front of the spouses. Numerous nannies respond and meet the couple, but Miriam doesn't find any of them suitable. At this point, Miriam and Paul realize that it is much more challenging than they thought. In the end, the doorbell rings, and a pleasant middle-aged French woman named Louise seems to fulfill all of the criteria. She is about to speak about her work experience when suddenly, she hears Adam's crying, and Miriam is surprised by such sensitive hearing. Louise tells them that she had worked as a nanny for many years, and has a grown 25-year-old daughter, but her husband passed away a long time ago. Currently, she is completely free and can work on any schedule. Miriam takes an immediate liking to Louise, believing that they have found the perfect nanny and hires her. She then introduces her to their children, 5-year-old Mila, and an 11-month-old son named Adam. The following day, Louise wakes up at 5 in the morning, gets herself ready, and smiles her way to work, looking forward to her first day. After Louise arrives at work, Miriam provides her with a detailed explanation of her duties and tasks in the house. Miriam informs her about the children's food preferences, and also show her how to drop off and pick up Mila from school. After Miriam leaves, Louise starts her duties, and since Louise has been doing this job for over a decade, she has no trouble looking after the kids. In fact, she goes the extra mile by cleaning and maintaining the house during her free time, treating it as if it were her own. In particular, Miriam appreciates and is pleasantly surprised by the neat and tidy home that greets her when she returns from work. This continues day after day. Louise treats Mila and Adam as her own children, and even visits Mila's school to talk to the teachers about her progress. Louise becomes so deeply involved in the family that she starts doing things beyond her job description, even though she's not getting paid for them. At the playground, when Louise goes to Adam's stroller to get some tissues, a child approaches Adam and steals his toy. Seeing Adam crying, Louise goes straight to the kid and retrieves the toy, while reprimanding the kid's nanny for telling her that the kid just borrowed it. Meanwhile, Paul and Miriam are beginning to enjoy a carefree life, relieved of constant worry about their children. They often go on romantic dates, and hang out with friends. After the arrival of Louise, their lifestyle and daily routine has completely changed. It's been a long time since the couple had fun and lived for themselves. When Miriam and Paul get home late from a party that night, they find Louise asleep on the couch, so Paul covers her up with a blanket out of kindness. One day, Miriam offers Louise some wine, and they have conversations when Miriam is shocked to learn that Louise gave expired yogurts to Mila and Adam. According to Louise, there is nothing wrong with that, since such products could be consumed for a few more weeks, but Miriam prohibited her from doing this from now on. To add, Louise leaves by herself in her apartment, and barely gets any sleep. The following day, Miriam doesn't expect the nanny to show up so early at all. The nanny keeps showing up earlier and earlier every day, taking over as the kid's mother while Miriam is at work, even though sometimes her behavior is starting to become unsettling. She believes that the children have become so dependent on her that the family cannot even think of living without her.
Louise? Louise?
She hides and watches the children, as they desperately search for her.
Tu ne m'as pas trouvé?
After some time, Louise meets Paul's mother, Sylvie, who comes to see them. When Sylvie plays with her granddaughter, the nanny couldn't hide her jealousy. Furthermore, Sylvie makes quite a mess in the evening, and Louise has to keep tidying up the house. When Mila's birthday comes around, her mother didn't expect Louise to decorate the house, make Mila wear the outfit of her choice, and plan a party. Miriam is supposed to do this, but she's too busy with work. Many of Mila's classmates come to the house, which Miriam isn't pleased about. She prefers peace and quiet, but the guests make a lot of noise, while Louise entertains the kids, wearing a funny costume and plays with them. The following day, Miriam comes home early from work to surprise her children. She also decides to take them out, and tells Louise not to bother with preparing dinner. Hearing this, the nanny suddenly gets enraged, as if Miriam was taking away her rights. She stores everything she prepared in the freezer, before abruptly leaving the house. Miriam finds this behavior very strange and doesn't like it. At the playground, Louise forbids Mila from taking sweets from a friend. It appears that Louise doesn't want anyone except her to spend time with Mila and Adam. Unbeknownst to the parents, since the children spend most of their time with Louise, their children's lives are slowly being shaped by the nanny. Meanwhile, Miriam meets with Mila's teacher, who informs her that Mila has been behaving very violently as of late, and had a fight with one of her friends in class. The mother apologizes, because her job takes up too much of her time, and she doesn't pay much attention to the kids at home. The scene then shifts to a beach where Miriam and Paul are on vacation with their kids, and they brought Louise along for their convenience. This is Louise's first vacation in a long time, and she's really enjoying the trip and the family's company. At one point, little Mila requests Louise to accompany her to the shore, but she refuses. But when the little girl insists, Louise loses her cool and pushes Mila away. The shocked parents ask her why she did that, and in response, she apologizes and reveals that she doesn't know how to swim. Upon learning this, Paul helps her to the seashore and lets her feel the waves. This makes Louise incredibly happy as no one has cared for her like this before. Later in the evening, Louise notices Miriam and Paul kissing each other passionately, until Miriam notices her and says goodnight. Upon listening to the sounds of passion coming from the couple's room, Louise gets an idea to continue her dream job with the family. She believes that Miriam and Paul should conceive another child, and this will add more duty to her, and she will be hired permanently for 4 to 5 more years. After returning from the vacation, Louise begins searching for dishes that will help Miriam conceive another child. She also starts influencing Mila, suggesting she should ask her parents about having a sister. When Miriam comes home from work, Louise takes the kids to the park, giving Paul and Miriam some alone time. She brings the children out, until it's late in the evening, but unfortunately, things don't go as Louise planned, and nothing romantic happens between the couple. Louise learns that Miriam immediately went to sleep, while Paul arrived home late that day. The following day, while tidying up the couple's room, she discovers one of Miriam's undergarments with bloodstains, and this discovery upsets her because all her efforts of making the couple conceive a child have gone in vain. When Louise takes the kids on a picnic, she berates Mila for wandering the park alone, prompting an unexpected bite to her shoulder. One day, Miriam calls Louise to come to the kitchen when she discovers bite marks on her younger son Adam. The cunning nanny explains that Mila is the one who bit Adam, and shows marks on her own body as well. Hearing all this, Miriam is taken aback as she had no idea her daughter had become so aggressive. She then decides to confront Mila, but Louise stops her, saying she will handle the girl in her own way. Afterwards, Louise uses Miriam's makeup, and puts them on Mila. Paul then discovers this and scolds his daughter for using unfamiliar makeup products on her delicate skin. He also reprimands Louise for being so careless, but the increasingly weird nanny doesn't understand why Paul is angry, as she thinks Mila looks good with makeup on. In the next scene, the kid's grandmother, Sylvie, comes to visit and spends time with them, and as expected, Louise is not happy about this at all. She becomes even more enraged when she learns that the children are going on a one-week vacation to Sylvia's house, and Miriam tells Louise not to come for a week. With no job to do, Louise spends time alone in her apartment, sinking into depression. She wanders around the city, and has no idea what her life is all about anymore. On the other hand, the couple is on their way to see Sylvie and the children, when Miriam tells her husband that Louise was hurt when Sylvie came to get the children, as if Sylvie was stealing the kids. Later, while at Sylvie's house, the grandmother tells Miriam that Mila was always talking about having a little brother or sister. Miriam is surprised since she and her husband certainly weren't planning that. Sylvie also talks to Miriam and Paul, expressing her dislike for Louise, and finding Louise strange and somewhat suspicious. Back to Louise, the couple has no idea that Louise, who had the keys, has already entered their home. When no one's there, she lives as she pleases and enjoys her time. Later that night, Paul confesses to his wife that he's had enough of Louise's strange behavior. He notices changes in Mila's behavior. She's with Louise more than the couple, and she's picking up her values. He also wants to fire Louise, but Miriam is not ready for that yet because she is busy at work. During this time, Louise makes a terrible mess of the couple's apartment, and she really misses Mila and Adam. However, before the couple comes back, she tidies up the house, and even leaves them a welcome bouquet. This kind gesture impresses the couple, and they eventually decide to let her keep working for the time being. The next day, something very strange happens. While playing store with the kids at home, Louise, who takes on the role as a customer, feels the need to use the restroom. But instead of going to the toilet like a normal adult, she uses Adam's potty. In a disgusting turn of events, she orders Mila to clean the potty, and empty it into the toilet. At this moment, Louise shows no remorse in making the little girl clean up after her. Later that night, Mila talks about the incident with her parents, but neither of them believes her. It sounds too absurd to be true, and they just tell her to go to sleep. At the playground the following day, Louise is happy to be the first person to see Adam take his first step. In the following scene, Paul receives a government letter about Louise, who turns out to have significant debts and wasn't paying taxes. The tax authorities suggest that the spouses deduct the unpaid taxes from Louise's salary, and pay them on her behalf, which irritates Paul. Miriam, on the other hand, feels sorry for Louise and promises to assist her as a lawyer. Louise breaks down in tears as she reveals that she and her husband were not legally married, and that after his passing, she lost custody of her daughter, who ended up being raised by her grandparents. Later on, when Louise returns home, there are many unopened letters, indicating that she has been ignoring the tax notices. As she goes through the kids' toys, she suddenly sees an octopus that crawled into her house through the sewer. Louise tries to hit the creature when she unconsciously destroys her apartment. But it turns out that she has some mental issues as these creatures are only in her head, and then she proceeds to destroy the letters. Back to the couple, Paul believes Miriam treated Louise as a friend rather than a hired employee, and that wouldn't lead to anything good, but Miriam wanted to give Louise another chance. Meanwhile, Louise constantly lay on the couch, immersed in deep depression. When she gets back to the spouse's apartment, she finds a letter informing her that Adam has been accepted into the local daycare. She realizes that she's on the verge of losing her dream job and her place in their home. This saddens her greatly. She takes the kids to the park and sleeps on a bench, leaving them to play by themselves. In the evening, Louise tells Mila a tale to help her fall asleep. When Miriam gets home from work, she doesn't dare tell Louise that she has been fired. As soon as she enters the house, she discovers that Louise has left a strange dish on the table, which appears to be a skeleton of some sort of animal. She gets scared and immediately throws it in the trash, and then desperately asks her husband to fire the nanny as soon as possible. Miriam is sure the nanny is taking revenge on her, and Paul assures her that Louise will be leaving the job by the end of the week. The following day, when Louise returns to work, she is deeply saddened because she knows she will lose her job soon, and begins neglecting her duties. Adam cries all day, but she doesn't make any efforts to comfort him or make him stop. She's worried that someone else will take her place and enjoy all the time with the children she loves. Filled with this fear, she decides to do something very drastic and frightening. If Adam and Mila aren't with her, they won't be with anyone. Louise prepares the bathtub, and then calls the kids to take a bath.
Mila? Tu viens?
At the same time, Miriam, who is in a good mood, stops by a bakery, and is now on her way home with some sweets for the kids. But to her surprise, when she enters her house, she discovers Louise on the floor, holding a knife and on the brink of death. The entire house is covered in blood, including the bed sheets and the bedroom. Miriam looks for the kids and, to her horror, finds their blood in the bathtub, indicating that the nanny she thought was all perfect has already brutally killed them. The movie ends with the police arriving to deal with the tragic situation, while Paul stands outside, completely unaware of what has just happened at his house. Okay guys, that's all the recap of Perfect Nanny 2019. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.